In the autumn of 2004, Phase 2 of the Weobley Castle Survey project was undertaken by a team of archaeologists, led by George Nash and supported by members of Weobley Local History Society. This was to involve the excavation of a series of trenches, commencing to the south of the site with trenches 2 and 3. These were trying to locate the features of the southern moat of the castle.
The trench in that area there as well. So what we've done is that very kindly, and I hope to goodness that Mr. Taylor's scales are correct. We've obviously got trying to find a point inside the middle of that field to where we can put the digger. We can't just say, well, it's somewhere around here. So what we've done is that we've measured off from using the scale from particular points.
The one with the big
hedge.
Blackberry bush.
Yeah. So roughly, we've got to go 75 metres out that way. So we're going to
get to the posts and the fence, didn't
That's
we,
right. Yeah.
Yeah.
And this is the wonderful thing about the Ordnance Survey. The Ordnance Survey will plot out really good fence lines, post lines, and also they also indicate
missed buildings,
but they also indicate trees. Now you'll find on the old Ordnance Survey, first edition Ordnance Survey map, and Dave Lovelace will expand on this, but they do actually put individual trees on that map, again, which is very useful if you're doing a desk-based assessment, you're trying to do a map regression. But anyway, we've got that point in the middle in that corner there, so we're going to measure 75 metres out that way, and then we're going to put from the corner, just around the corner of, we've got another little point, a known point. These are known points. We've got to measure 50 metres out there, and then we've got to get the two tapes, bring them together, and then we've got our point, which we'll probably use as a TBM as well, couldn't we? I've got a peg in there. Yeah. A TBM means a temporary benchmark. We'll come to the surveying bit probably a little bit later on. And then once we've got that point, we will then parallel out 10 metres. And there we should have, hopefully, our trench, which will hopefully be over our bit. Is there anything you want to say, Stephen?
No, that's fine. That's fine.
Okay.
Doesn't behave. I'm starting to feel like I'm jinx.
That'll do, I think.
What about the stones? Are they natural stones?
We're not quite sure yet, but there's a feature there which Dan's just pointed out, it's a circular feature. What we'll do is he's now digging the hole. When he's finished digging the hole, we're going to get in there with a trowel to start.
Did you say that's possibly, yes. That's the thing I can see so far. Can you explain why you think that's just the difference in colour? The difference in colour of the soil, and it's got flecks of charcoal in as well. And within the natural soil, you don't get flecks of charcoal. So.
How did it
It's all this.
up there, is it, as well? This is, if you look at, see the different colours in there, it'll be better when we wet this in there, but see the different colours in here. This is backfill. And all that stone, you've got a big stone, you've still got a lump in there anyway. So there's a possibility that we've got a rubber trench of a wall beyond this bank. What we've got to do is prove it. Go out there and find it.
It's a post hole, which I think it is. It's a nice bit of pattern. Yeah. It's quite a substantial post hole as well.
Well, a very big building. It is a big one, Well, that's a very tidy trench it's in anyway. I'll give it that.
Yeah, it is a very... Okay. Well, my name is George Nash. I live in Weobley Marsh. I'm an archaeologist, professional archaeologist, and as part of our ongoing project with Weobley Castle, we've just finished phase 1 of the castle project, which included a geophysical survey and an earthwork survey. Now, from those results, we've got some very interesting sort of areas to sort of excavate, and what we've done, we've provided the local authority plus the LHI with a scheme of investigation how we're actually going to do this project, and we've devised 8 trench plans to be excavated, and today, the first part of our project, the 4th and 5th of September 2004, we've got 2 trenches which are south of the castle. These 2 trenches have been excavated by a mechanical excavator and then cleaned up by hand by archaeologists, experts, professionals and a team of volunteers. The volunteers, as per usual from Weobley, are enthusiastic, and we've come across some very interesting things. The trench we have behind us, which is orientated roughly north-south, and south of the castle, we found on the geophysical survey plan evidence of a possible circular stockade type enclosure, which was around about 20 metres in diameter. And I think what we've got at the lower end of the trench is evidence of that, that feature in the form of a large post hole which has been packed by stone. And I still think that this is probably Iron Age in date. In the second trench, trench 2, we've found very little indeed, and very much a lot of evidence of ploughed soil. There's a little bit of pottery, post-medieval pottery, that's pottery dating from the 16th century onwards, incorporated into the mix of the trench, but little else. So really we're going to be concentrating today on the recording of this trench in particular. We're going to be recording both trenches, of course, but in this particular trench we're going to be doing some further excavation, doing some half sectioning of the post hole and excavating some of the possible features that may be within the trench. Features that we're going to find in these particular soils, and if they are Iron Age in date, are going to be very ephemeral indeed. And what I mean by ephemeral, very, very difficult to see. Now, we have down here quite a remarkable post hole, and again it's very difficult to see, but you've got a very sort of barren area of stone, which is roughly oval in shape, which has been packed by a series of stones, and this is, I think, our first major feature. And again, for those of you who are excited about prehistoric archaeology, this is a classic post hole feature, and I would probably suggest that we have a series of these going right across the site. Unfortunately, we only have one within this trench. Now, further up to the south of this post hole, we have some more stone packing and also a linear feature which may be associated with this particular feature.
I'm Jane Pilkington. I'm in Trench 2 with Joyce, Leslie and Stuart. We've cleaned back the trench and we're now half sectioning a couple of features for further investigation. And we are now, and once those have been half sectioned and we've identified if they are in fact features, we are then going to plan the trench and half section any other features that might be necessary and draw the sections of the trench. We will also plan the trench as well. So anything in the bottom we'll plan at a scale of 1 to 20. Joyce, as you can see, is half sectioning this particular feature here. and also Leslie and Stuart are half-sectioning a feature up here. And we shall we shall find out if there's any interesting finds in that which may help us interpret what the features might be.
The section drawing will include the topsoil and the subsoil and the natural soil down below, and we'll have at least 3 contexts.
Well, no,
Land will be a scale of 1 to 20 as well, and will include the archaeological features. And in this trench we have 1 possible post hole, so eventually that will be half sectioned and then recorded. Also, we have some areas where the soil is a slightly different colour, it's a pale yellow as opposed to a red. And so I think we're going to be excavating some slots through there just to make sure it's natural or an archaeological feature. So that's what I'm going to be doing today. And 36 below. It's actually a museum. 7 metres. Yep. Is 20 above. Yep. And 40 below.
40 below.
Yeah. That's a good one, isn't it?
Yep. I can work that one out.
8 metres.
Yep.
What we're doing here is preparing a plan of this trench at a scale of 1 to 20. And Shannon here is carrying out the drawing. There we go. You can have a look at the way we do it is to use permatrace mounted onto a board with millimetre square paper underneath to give us a guide. And here we have the first 8.5 metres of this trench, showing the various features which we've identified in this trench. This area here we think is possibly a post hole. This is an area of disturbance with a lot more stone in it. Here are various soil colour changes which we've marked on as dotted lines because we haven't got them precisely defined yet. Afterwards we'll go, once we've assigned context numbers to each of these features, we'll go back and label the plan with context numbers. And as you can see at the top of the plan we put all the relevant drawing information so that afterwards the drawing can be entered into the site archive and we won't lose any of the information that's related to it.
A tiny little ditch. The soil inside was more mixed than was quite mixed size, a mixture of reddish brown, and it was sort of a clay silt in comparison to the natural, which is more clay. And the natural is quite red, and the fill of this pit was quite moist, so that's one of the ways we identified it. And we also had a nail in the surface of this. But as we've gone down now, we've found a couple of iron nails, and at the moment we're basically half sectioning it.
Another nail?
Yep. And making sure the sides are really straight so we can draw the profile later in the section drawing. And we're making a note of all the different inclusions in there. It seems that it's a good identification method.
Just trace the end down, or do I have to go there? Is that the pattern there? Or?
Yeah, that's right. That's it.
So if I go down?
Yes.
Down.
The shaping plan, I'm afraid we're only going to be able to describe it as there's an extension hole.
Okay, right, it's the 18th of September. It's a bit of a miserable Saturday morning. We're going to be digging a small trench in Area A. This is the northern part of the castle. It's north of the main inner bailey. We're in the outer bailey area, and we're hoping to find the remains of the inner bailey wall, or the outer bailey wall, which would have extended all the way around the northern part of the castle. We're doing a small trench of around about ½ metre by 3 metres wide, for 3 metres in length. We're hoping also to find some activity that might be going on within the castle. But anyway, see what happens. And this is the area.
It'll be a lot easier.
I think I've done most of that, so I should have.
Oh, you already loosened it a little bit.
It's all weekend of the weather.
Yeah.
This is the tool though, isn't
Hey, but will it stop us?
Straight through, like a knife through butter.
Bring the TBM across. So obviously he now lives in London or something.
Yeah, Chester, isn't it?
He popped a quick pie at the same time.
Are you here, Tony, or are you
No, I'm just photographing.
Yeah.
You're not
today.
here.
I arranged it.
Yeah, we'll get one of those, George.
What's that? If over here, yeah.
That'd be good, yeah.
If it wasn't for those damn glaciers, probably would do, wouldn't we?
Yeah, that's true.
And I'm massive intuition.
Oh, we've got a crack mason mark, have we?
Yeah.
Excellent. Okay. So what we got there then, Des? What's happening?
You've got the foundations, I would say, of a wall.
Wall. And if you were to walk further on with it, then the downs would go down.
There's nothing this way now. If you turn around and you go back again
Right.
to exactly the same place, you pick it up again.
You're hired. You're hired.
I hope it's all right.
Yeah, we take it off, don't we? Oh, she's found something. What's she got? A bit sticky. Sorry.
Good. I don't want to be mentioned.
Apart from Tom, particularly the bit about Tom.
Yeah, Tom back in Ford Archaeology.
Yeah, you remember that name? Sure, the guitar's amazing, still going. I don't understand you back home. Trying to take pictures.
Right, well it's October 2nd, 2004. We are now excavating in Area E. Now if you remember, Area E is where we've got this potential Iron Age hill enclosure. We've put in about 4 trenches. We've got one large trench which is just here, which is 20 metres long. Unfortunately not very much has come out of the trench, but we've also put in 2 small trenches to the north of this large trench, and we've come across some very interesting features and some interesting artefacts. The 2 trenches have been deliberately located on what we feel may be sort of ramparts or small boundaries which belong to this enclosure. Now, at the one trench we've got about 20 or 30 pieces of medieval pottery. Maybe the pottery is even earlier than that, but nonetheless it's very, very exciting. Our final trench, or final two trenches, have at the moment drawn a blank. Although the one trench further south, at the bottom of the hill, we've started to pick up some very early pottery. So, all in all, we've had quite an exciting day.
Which I'll show you a picture of. And the idea of the plan was just to record the features that were found. And this is a possible pit that had medieval pottery in. And another small pit here with medieval pottery. And some small, not very distinct features down here. And it's drawn on a scale of 1 to 50. And it's all been levelled and context. And I think a final copy will be inked up. And possibly put in a report that George will be doing.
We've got a lot of fill here, a lot of overburden, very rubbly material, charcoal flecks, lots of sandstone fragments which are in a dipping position. We're trying to look and just investigate where the actual natural red marls are, because although this looks natural, it isn't, because of the various inclusions. And once we've exposed the actual natural, we might find this bank meets a lot more than reveals a lot more than we quite first realised, because it seems to be coming in this direction, and we may even reveal a ditch. We shall see.
All of that, what you said.
What it looks like they've been doing is digging in here.
Flecks of charcoal to see if it leads to a concentration of charcoal or a feature, and there are some very tiny bits of daub as well, a few tiny bits of daub that suggests maybe the destruction of a dwelling of some sort, but we're not right on it. It's probably a few feet over there. Okay? Clear that view so we can see what's happening there.
Yeah, it looks like a drain or something which may have been blocked or something with the...
Yeah, so that was just under
what
as deep as you got to yesterday. Really,
yeah, basically we had that stone section and that was it. And then we took a bit off here, and then next thing you know...
Been involved in the Weobley Castle project phase 2. As you can see now, it's October and it's been piddling down with rain for the last few days. Very wet underground, and last night we had a big downpour and it's made the trench, the large trench which we left open, very, very wet indeed. So what have we got? Well, in this large trench we've got a wall going towards the top of the hill, heading out towards the Lays. And so what we've decided to do is to extend the trench, make it into what we call an open area excavation. And as a result, it's now the afternoon, we found some very interesting things indeed. We found the wall that tends to have a return on it, so it's producing a sort of right angle. We've again found our indicative medieval pottery, some slumped material, which is probably a collapsed wall, and a series of post holes. So things are looking really quite exciting, to the point that we were going to excavate in other areas, but because this is yielding so much archaeology, we're staying put and excavating this trench fully.
cutting edge.
Oh, let me guess it. Let me guess it. It's a difficult one, I think. Too funny, not until we're committed. My target's just get one page. Sorry, off camera it is to get one page done. One. Lots of discussion, lots of distraction.
They do. Do they lose? They draw after ring 2 on. Oh no! Who are they playing? Woking. Mighty Woking.
It's the last weekend of the Weobley Castle project, Phase 2. We've been given SMC, Schedule Entry Monument Consent, from English Heritage to dig 2 trenches inside the castle area. We've located the trenches over what might be possibly the hospitium, or the 2 buildings which feature on the cover of the Weobley Castle book. We've also opened a 3rd trench down by the stream in Area D, which is hopefully going to locate the mill site. It's a bitterly cold day, the sun is out, but the spirits are high, and who knows what we're going to find by the end of the weekend.
No, that's what we want. A nice sassy deposit. Feels in my mouth.
We're not that expert, I'm afraid.
Here, got what I think heads to the floor.
Yeah, it's looking like it.
Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
Some of these small dogs are quite effective, aren't they?
I think it just had a big gulp of water.
Store it all up and wait for a likely jacket. Is that water, that white stuff?
It is, yeah.
Yes.
The people, I didn't do it? The dog?
No. He said, oh dear.
Wait, we can't find a few.
I think they need to show the book next time because they do with it.
Okay, I'm standing at the corner, the southern end of Trench 2, and this is by far one of the most remarkable trenches we've had so far within the excavation project. We've got a floor which may relate to this hospitium, this either hospital or hospitable place to stay in, and it's on the cover of the Weobley Castle book. and it's right in front of the main mound, the citadel in the castle, and we've got two trenches open. The trench 2 that I'm standing at the moment has revealed the most important archaeology, the most important structures within this part of the project. And from the trench, we've also got a series of finds as well, very interesting finds, such as decorative tiles and pottery, which suggests this was once a very high status place indeed.
Do you know, it could have been a big wall there that was rubbed out.
I think it probably is. There's a lot of mortar there.
We used as stone.
A lot of mortar there.
Yeah, it isn't near the wall, is it? No.
Do you not know yet?
That looks more like it, doesn't it?
No, I think for the quality of the floor, you're going to have a really good wall.
Yeah.
Not just a kind of junk together rubble one like that.
Yeah. We've now come to the end of the excavation project for 2004. And it's been a tremendous experience for both myself, my team, and the volunteers that have come to help. Now, we started in Areas A and Area C. Now, Area A is within the inner bay of the castle, and Area C just to the south of the castle. And really, these were quite disappointing in that we found very little. We did find our first bit of pottery, medieval pottery though. Now, to the west of the site, in Area E, we did find our first major structure, which is probably medieval in date, and associated with that structure was an awful lot of medieval pottery. Probably some of the pottery that came from the kiln that was found on Bill Dye's land back in the 1970s. So that was very, very exciting. But even more exciting than that was the work that we did within inside the inner bailey of the castle. For this we needed permission from English Heritage to excavate this area. We opened up 2 trenches, and within both trenches we found an array of pottery and artefacts which are associated with the possible hospitium that once stood within the position of the 2 trenches. We also found quite a unique flagstone floor, which probably was the inside of this hospitium. Now, the results are now being collated and put together in a very, very fine book, and this will be published in 2005. And it's hoped that either 2005 or 2006 that we can maybe open up more trenches and excavate more areas within inside the castle and just outside within Area E, hoping to find my Iron Age hill fort. I hope to see you then.